My ex-wife cheated on me, and to make things worse, she and the guy she ran off with tried to tear me down in court just because I'm a mechanic. But once the judge uncovered what I'd really been keeping quiet, everything flipped. I'm 33 now, and I've been needing to get this off my chest for a while. It's about my divorce, and honestly, the whole thing's been weighing on me more than I care to admit. I've spent the last decade working as a mechanic. Started right after I wrapped up tech school. For a while, I had a solid gig at one of the better-known shops in town, not there anymore, but I'll get to that. I've been messing with engines since I was 16, back when my uncle first let me help out in his garage. After I got out of school, I earned my certifications and everything. People tend to think mechanics just change oil or rotate tires, but that's a huge oversimplification. These days, cars are basically rolling computers, and you've got to really know what you're doing. The job's honest, it covers the bills, and more than anything, I genuinely enjoy it. That's how I met Rachel, not her real name, obviously. She came into the shop about 7 years ago needing some repairs. Thinking back, there were red flags from the very beginning. She kept going on about how her car was premium and needed some kind of special treatment. At the time, I thought she came off a little snobby, but the second she smiled, I kind of forgot all about that. She worked for a high-end marketing firm downtown, always dressed sharp, with those designer bags I couldn't even pronounce. I'm not gonna pretend I wasn't flattered. At the time, I felt pretty lucky that someone like her was even giving me the time of day. Sure, I was making a decent living, but I still came home every night with grease under my fingernails. We started dating, and for a while, it felt like things were going well. She asked questions about my work and acted like she was genuinely interested in what I did. She'd even swing by the shop sometimes to bring me lunch, and my coworkers would tease me about landing such a fancy girlfriend. I actually thought she wasn't like the other corporate types who look down on guys like me who work with their hands. I really believed what we had was something real. She used to say she admired my work ethic and loved how I followed my passion. After dating for about 3 years, we tied the knot. The wedding wasn't massive, but it was nice. Her dad footed most of the bill, though I chipped in what I could. At first, her dad didn't seem to mind me. He's a big name in real estate, but he acted like he appreciated that I earned my living through hard work. I think that's why he agreed to co-sign the mortgage when I bought the house. I actually bought the house before we got married. I'd been saving up for years, living in a tiny apartment and putting away every extra buck I made from side gigs. It wasn't some mansion, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, decent yard, but it was in a good part of town, and I was proud of what I'd accomplished. Having her dad co-sign helped me score a lower interest rate, but every single mortgage payment came from me. Never missed one. Rachel seemed excited at first, talking about how we could fix the place up and really make it ours. But it didn't take long before she started making these little comments. Whenever her coworkers came over, which wasn't often, she'd say stuff like, "We're planning to upgrade to a better neighborhood soon," or, "This is just our starter home." It stung. Made it feel like all the work I'd put into buying that house didn't matter. I also noticed she didn't like telling people what I actually did for a living. When she brought me to her office parties, which was rare, she'd introduce me as a small business owner in the automotive industry. Technically, that wasn't a lie, later on. But at the time, it just felt like she was ashamed to admit I was a mechanic. My sister Laura saw through her from the beginning. She'd bring her car to the shop sometimes, and one day she told me, "I don't like the way she looks at you, like you're some project she's trying to fix." I brushed it off. Sisters are protective, and I figured she was just being picky like always. But maybe I should have listened. The first year of marriage was okay, I guess. We had our routine. I'd work long days, usually 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes later if we were backed up. Rachel worked 8 to 4, but she'd stay late all the time for meetings or team-building events. I probably should have questioned those late nights more. But I was focused on improving myself, taking business classes at the community college. I didn't tell her because any time I brought up doing something new, she'd laugh or say I should be thinking about a real career, not wasting time with car stuff. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. The way she'd wrinkle her nose when I walked in with oil on my clothes. How she stopped hanging around while I worked on my project car in the garage. And all her not-so-subtle hints that I should go back to school for something respectable. Hindsight's always clearer, isn't it? Things really went downhill after about 3 years of being married. Rachel got a promotion at her firm, and that's when she started to change, a lot. She'd come home bragging about these big client dinners or fancy work events, and there was always one name she kept dropping, Brandon. Supposedly the guy who helped her land the promotion. One night she came home super late, like, after 12, wearing this new dress I'd never seen. I asked her about it, and she snapped that they had some last-minute client meeting and she had to buy something on the fly. She made me feel stupid for even asking. That's around the same time she started acting weird about the house, too. Her dad would come over for dinner, and they'd go on and on about property values and upgrading to a nicer area, all while I was sitting right there. He'd make comments like, well, I did co-sign, so I have some say in what happens here, and Rachel would just nod along like that was normal. And then there was the way she started talking about my job. One time, a wealthy client brought in a Ferrari. Most shops wouldn't touch it, but I'm certified for high-end vehicles. It was a big deal. But instead of being proud, Rachel told her friends I was messing around with fancy cars, instead of taking life seriously. Meanwhile, I was making solid money from that kind of work. But she never bothered to ask about that part. At first, I used to laugh it off, her snide little remarks, the way she'd downplay what I did for a living, but after a while, it started to eat at me. Then came the company events, and man, those were brutal. There was this one Christmas party at some swanky hotel downtown. I didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb, so I spent a good chunk of cash on a proper suit, hoping to blend in with her crowd. The whole evening, she kept drifting off to chat with her work buddies, barely acknowledging I was even there. Her co-workers were a trip, all buttoned-up guys in $1,000 suits bragging about stocks and second homes. One guy, right after Rachel introduced me as her husband, looked me dead in the eye and asked if I knew any good mechanics. She just laughed it off, like it was some kind of joke. I just stood there, feeling completely out of place, like I didn't belong in her world anymore. After that night, things only got worse. We used to eat dinner together pretty regularly, even if it was just something quick at the kitchen table. Now, she was coming home later and later. And when she was home, she wasn't really there, always glued to her phone or typing away on her laptop. I tried to bring some life back into things, suggested we go out for dinner, take a weekend trip like we used to. But there was always an excuse. Work stuff, last-minute meetings, client emergencies. It never ended. Then I started noticing her phone habits, texting non-stop, always turning the screen face down, stepping out of the room for certain calls. You know the drill. Classic signs. But I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. She was a marketing exec now, maybe that just came with the territory. But things really took a turn when her brother got involved. Guy's always been kind of a leech. He brought his car into my shop once and just assumed I'd fix it for free because, hey, we're family. When I told him I still had to charge like anyone else, he ran straight to Rachel, whining that I was being difficult. And of course, she took his side. Told me I should help him out because, it's just car stuff anyway. Like my work didn't matter. Then her dad started getting in my business too, showing up at the shop unannounced, asking to see my finances and house payment records. Said he was just protecting his investment since his name was on the mortgage. Never mind that I was the one making every payment, on time, every month. Honestly, I was staying late at work most nights, partly just to avoid going home and getting hit with more lectures about how I wasn't doing anything with my life. The other reason was that I'd enrolled in business classes, real ones, trying to get my own shop off the ground someday. But Rachel never even asked what I was up to. Probably thought I was just getting my hands dirty in the garage like always. She'd make digs like, "You always choose grease over me." Like I hadn't been busting my back to build something. But the real breaking point came at one of her company's summer parties. They rented out this fancy rooftop bar, and she practically begged me to go, saying we needed to show our faces together since I'd missed the last few. Thing is, I hadn't missed any, she just told people I wasn't there. I showed up, and right away, I spotted her standing real close to some tall guy in a sharp suit. Later, I'd find out his name, Brandon. Co-worker. The way they jolted apart when they saw me. Yeah, I knew. I might be a mechanic, but I'm not stupid. That night flipped a switch. I didn't have hard proof yet, but I couldn't ignore what was happening anymore. So I started watching patterns. Every Thursday, she claimed to be working late, but her car. Nowhere near her office when I drove by. Then there were the credit card charges, dinners at places I'd never heard of, always for 2 people, always on Thursdays. When I asked about them, she got defensive, said they were client meetings. Yeah, candlelit client dinners at overpriced restaurants downtown. Sure. Then one day I'm sorting the mail and find an envelope from this high-end jewelry store downtown, the kind of place that won't even buzz you in unless you're wearing a Rolex. Inside was a receipt for a men's watch. Not my birthday. She'd never bought me jewelry. She always said, "What's the point of dressing up someone who works with spark plugs?" When I tried to bring all this up, she turned it on me, said I was being insecure. Accused me of being controlling. She'd throw out little insults, tell me I was being paranoid, like I was imagining things. But every time I questioned something, she'd look at me like I was a kid who didn't understand how the world works. The more I pressed, the colder she got, and the more time she spent at the office. Truth was, I didn't even recognize the person she'd become. Then came the final blow, and it didn't even come from her. A girl from her office, let's call her Tina, rolled into my shop for an oil change one afternoon. She looked shocked to see me. She said, "Oh. I thought you two had split up already." I asked what she meant. She just shrugged and told me everyone at the office knew about Rachel and Brandon. Said they were practically inseparable. They go to lunch together all the time, she said. Not exactly a secret. Tina even mentioned Rachel had been telling folks we were separated. Living apart. Meanwhile, I was still coming home every night, paying the bills, cooking dinner, she just never showed up. Found out she'd even stopped wearing her wedding ring at work. Said it didn't fit her professional image. That kind of betrayal, it's hard to put into words. It's like waking up one morning and realizing the life you thought you had never existed. Every memory starts to feel fake. Every, "I love you," just part of the script. All those late nights I stayed up waiting. The times I stuck up for her when my family said she was acting different. The money I spent trying to keep up appearances, like that stupid suit for the Christmas party. I'd been holding on to a marriage she'd already buried, just didn't have the guts to tell me. And honestly, the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was how hard she worked to make me look like the fool. Like I was the one who just couldn't see what was right in front of him. But I wasn't about to let her steamroll me, not without a fight. I started keeping track. My buddy, who's a cop, helped me out, set me up with a system. Documented every shady charge, every odd location ping, screenshots of her phone's GPS when she said she was somewhere else. It was like piecing together a puzzle, and every piece just confirmed what I already knew. They had a routine. She'd say she was heading to a weekend marketing conference, but she was really meeting him at some overpriced hotel downtown. I caught her slipping once, used our joint card instead of her personal one. Amateur move. But what really hit me, was finding screenshots on her laptop. They'd been looking at houses together, big, shiny homes in the high-end part of town. I guess she was planning a whole new life. One I wasn't supposed to be a part of. I found their messages. They were joking about how they'd finally be able to afford their dream house once they ditched the dead weight. Pretty sure I didn't need a translator for that one. My sister Laura dropped by the shop one day and caught me looking like hell. I hadn't been sleeping, hadn't been eating right either. She sat down, went through everything I'd collected, and said, "You need a lawyer. Now." She knew a guy, divorce attorney, tough as nails, dealt with stuff like this all the time. Even with all that going on, I kept going to my business classes, stayed late working on cars, trying to hold everything together. One night, Rachel actually got home early and found me sitting at the kitchen table buried in paperwork. She assumed it was more car invoices. "More repair invoices?" she asked, with that smug little smile. "Yeah, just keeping things in order," I said, casually sliding my business coursework under a pile of real shop receipts. "You know how us, simple mechanics gotta hustle." She gave me that exaggerated sigh. "You know, if you'd just let me handle the finances like I offered, I do have an MBA." "Oh, I wouldn't want to burden you with my little shop problems," I said, thinking about how I just passed a business valuation course with flying colors. "Besides, you're always so tied up with those late-night meetings." "It was productive," she mumbled, her eyes glued to her phone. "We're working on something big." "I bet you are," I muttered, stacking my papers. "Well, don't let me keep you from your executive duties. I'll just stick to my greasy little world." She gave me that pity look she'd perfected over the years and walked off. Let her. She had no idea what I was really up to, and that was exactly how I wanted it. While she was rolling her eyes at my job, I was laying the groundwork for something much bigger. Then I checked our joint savings account, and it was nearly drained. She'd moved almost all the money out, leaving just enough to cover the bills. When I asked about it, she didn't even bother with an excuse. Said she was investing in her future. That's when I made the call. "The lawyer Laura recommended. Total professional. He went through all the evidence I had and told me I had a strong case, especially since our state factors in infidelity. Told me to keep playing it cool while he got everything filed. That was the toughest part. For 2 whole weeks, I had to act like nothing was wrong. Every morning, I'd watch her get ready, knowing full well she was heading off to Brandon. She'd come home late with stories about client meetings, and I'd have to smile through dinner with her parents like everything was normal. One night, her dad brought up signing part of the house over to her, just in case. My lawyer had warned me something like that might happen and told me to start recording any conversations that hinted at coercion. One-party consent, completely legal here. Got a gem, too, her dad joking about making my life hell if I didn't cooperate. Real classy guy. Then came the day it all blew up. It was a Wednesday, Rachel's usual, working late, routine. I was at the shop when my next-door neighbor called. "Hey man, just thought you should know, Rachel just pulled up with some guy I've never seen before." They went inside. I knew exactly who it was. My hands didn't even shake as I locked up and drove home. It's weird how calm you get when the truth finally steps into the light. I walked in, and there they were, Rachel and Brandon, standing in the kitchen. His hands were on her waist. The look on her face when she saw me. That'll be burned into my brain forever. "Get out," I said, voice steady. "Both of you. Now." She went from shocked to furious in a heartbeat. "This is my house too. You can't just." "The house I paid for," I said flatly. "You've got 30 minutes to pack a bag and go." Brandon didn't argue. He slipped out while Rachel started screaming about her rights. She called her dad mid-meltdown, and 20 minutes later, his SUV came flying into the driveway. Her brother Derek jumped out before it even stopped. "You can't throw my daughter out," her dad roared, trying to shove past me. Derek was right behind him, puffed up like he wanted to play tough guy. I just held up my phone, already recording. "You're both trespassing. Police are on the way." This is my daughter's home. I co-signed the loan, he shouted, waving papers in my face. But I could see it, he was already unsure. Your daughter's been cheating on me for months, I said, loud and clear so the neighbors could hear. I've got receipts, texts, hotel records, everything. Right then, the cops showed up. Guess they forgot I'd fixed half the department's vehicles over the years and had a few numbers on speed dial. Derek looked ready to bolt the moment he saw the uniforms. Funny how that tough guy act disappears fast when the badges arrive. Everything got quiet after that. The officers watched while Rachel packed a bag. Her dad and brother just stood by their car, looking deflated. As she left, Rachel turned back and said, "You'll regret this. You have no idea what you're doing." I just smiled. Actually, for the first time in a long time, I do. The next day, the lawyer filed the divorce papers. Rachel got served at work. I heard she caused a scene, sobbing and playing the victim. Meanwhile, she'd been planning to walk away with half my stuff and shack up with Brandon. Her lawyer tried to float some ridiculous offer, said I could keep the house if I paid her a massive settlement. Thought I was hiding money or something. My lawyer told them to get lost. That weekend was a circus. Her family started spreading rumors, called me abusive, controlling, said I was leaving her with nothing. A few of her friends even posted about it online. Laura wanted to clap back, but I told her to stay quiet. Let them lie. Let them talk. I was done playing their game. Rachel tried showing up at the house to grab more of her stuff, but I'd already changed the locks. My lawyer told me she had to go through official channels now. Of course, she left me this long, dramatic voicemail about how I was being childish and spiteful, which is pretty rich coming from someone who got caught sneaking around my place with her boyfriend. The next few weeks were a legal circus. Her lawyer kept firing off these entitled letters, acting like Rachel was owed everything just because her dad's name was on the mortgage. They actually sent over a list, no joke, like they were picking stuff out of a catalog. They wanted the house, half my savings, my project car, even my tools. Tools. Like she ever touched a wrench in her life. The first court date wasn't even a big hearing, just the usual preliminary stuff, but Rachel and her crew strutted in like they already won the whole case. She brought the full cast, her parents, Brandon, and some fancy-looking attorney who seemed like he came straight from a courtroom TV drama. They were all huddled together, whispering and pointing like I was just some punchline. My lawyer told me not to dress up fancy, just clean shop gear, name patch, certifications, all that. Said it'd help show I was a real working man, not the lazy stereotype they were trying to sell. Sure enough, when Rachel saw me, she actually laughed. Loud enough for Brandon to hear. He couldn't even dress right for court, she said. Then her lawyer starts laying it on thick, painting Rachel as the supportive wife who helped grow my business. Said she did the bookkeeping and everything. I almost laughed out loud, she never even looked at my records. Only time she talked numbers was when she wanted to spend them. Next came the house. Her dad took the stand, made it sound like he rescued me financially by co-signing the loan. Like he did me some big charity favor. My lawyer just sat there, cool as ever, jotting notes while they spun their little fairy tale. Then came the Brandon bit. They tried to frame him as a supportive friend, someone helping Rachel through tough times. Meanwhile, my lawyer had receipts, literally. Texts, hotel bookings, pictures. All of it timed perfectly with nights Rachel told me she was at work conferences. Her mom even got up and gave this dramatic speech about how Rachel deserved more than being stuck with a mechanic. She even dragged up the prenup we never signed, saying it would've protected everyone. Brandon tried playing the successful savior, brought his salary papers and everything, like we were auctioning Rachel off to the highest bidder. My lawyer just took it all, stacked it onto our growing pile of evidence. Then I overheard Brandon and Rachel's brother talking during the break, like they were already redecorating my place. Planning to turn my garage into a gym. Her dad was on the phone getting quotes for renovations. I kid you not. Rachel's lawyer even tried to claim she had part ownership of my tools. Said she helped me pick them. My lawyer asked her to name one. Just one. She stammered, then said she supported the general process. The judge actually raised his eyebrows. They also tried flipping my night classes, saying I was neglecting the marriage to chase some dream. Left out the part where Rachel was spending those same nights with her work friend. When the day wrapped up, Rachel's side hit me with their big demands. The house, because her dad co-signed. Half my business, which they didn't even realize I owned yet. My project car, because Rachel endured it. That one nearly made me laugh. Judge scheduled the next date a week out. As I was leaving, her dad tried to corner me in the parking lot. Told me we could make all this go away if I just signed over what they wanted. Didn't know my lawyer had his phone out recording the whole thing. That week in between was hell. I barely slept. Every night, I'd go sit in my workshop, just staring at my tools like they were already gone. My family tried to keep me level, but I was a wreck. I couldn't stop replaying that parking lot threat. Even with the video, I kept wondering if they had something else up their sleeves. But all their public trash talking just made me more determined. By the time the second court day rolled around, I felt like I was walking into the biggest fight of my life. Rachel's crew brought out their experts, a guy who valued my shop sky high without ever setting foot in it. Then Brandon, spouting off about how tough it was for Rachel to be married to someone blue-collar. And of course, her dad again, trying to rewrite every part of our past. My lawyer just kept writing, that calm little grin never leaving his face. He knew what was coming. When it was finally our turn, he called my first witness, my old boss. Rachel's side looked confused. Probably thought he was just there to say I was a good worker. Instead, he pulled out a contract from 6 months ago. Turned out, when he retired, he didn't just hire a manager, he sold the whole business to me. I'd owned the shop for half a year. Kept working the floor because I loved the work, but on paper. It was all mine. You should have seen their faces. Brandon lost that smug look real fast. Rachel's dad shut up. Rachel turned white. Then my lawyer laid it all out, proof of ownership, the business courses I'd been taking for 2 years, loan documents with my name only, and clean financials from the shop. And that was just the beginning. Turns out, the business was doing way better than any of them realized. Those luxury car repairs I specialized in. They brought in real money. Then my lawyer laid out just how much the shop was actually worth, and that's when things got real quiet on their side. While Rachel thought I was just out late fixing cars, I was actually building something way bigger. The shop had contracts with 3 luxury dealerships, a fleet maintenance deal with a local logistics company, and we were already gearing up to open a second location. When my lawyer mentioned all that, Rachel jumped out of her seat, trying to cut in, claiming she deserved half since we were married when I bought it. That's when my lawyer calmly pulled out the purchase agreement, signed 2 weeks before I even found out about the affair. Paid for with my own savings and a business loan with only my name on it. The judge looked right at Rachel and asked why, if she was supposedly so involved in the business, she didn't know about any of this. Her lawyer tried spinning it into some story about me hiding assets. Didn't work. We had receipts. Literally. Documentation showing Rachel was off with Brandon the exact day I signed the purchase papers. Her dad tried to jump back in by bringing up the house loan again. My lawyer didn't even flinch, just handed over the refinance paperwork. I'd done that 2 months ago. Got approved no problem based on business income. Her dad wasn't even on the mortgage anymore. They had no clue, I'd already handled it while they were busy plotting how to strip everything away from me. During the court break, it turned into a full-on meltdown. Rachel was yelling at her lawyer for not digging into my finances. Brandon straight up vanished, like ghosted the scene. Probably figured out Rachel wasn't getting a payday after all. Her brother was pacing around, phone glued to his ear, and their mom was trying to calm everyone down. But the real highlight? Her dad, red-faced and losing it on his attorney, shouting about how they should have hired a PI. My lawyer just quietly filmed the whole thing. Said it might come in handy if they tried to pull anything else. When court resumed, the vibe had totally changed. Rachel suddenly turned on the waterworks, going on about how she always believed in my dream, how she supported me, even passed on better job opportunities just so she could help me succeed. The judge didn't buy it for a second. He just stared at her, stone-faced. Then her lawyer tried one last Hail Mary, said Rachel's emotional support was key to my business success, so she should get a cut of the value. My lawyer didn't even hesitate. He played recordings, Rachel mocking my job, calling me a grease monkey, laughing about being embarrassed by what I do. Told Brandon she couldn't believe she married a guy who fixes cars. Right around then, some guy in a suit walked in and asked to speak. Brandon had sent his own lawyer. This guy stood up and said Brandon had no idea how complex the situation was and wanted to distance himself from any financial discussions. Rachel looked like she'd been slapped. Guess her backup plan wasn't planning to stick around once he realized she wasn't coming into any money. Then came the ruling. Rachel got nothing from the business. Judge said she had no legal claim to something she didn't even know existed. The house? All mine, fully refinanced in my name. She walked away with what was already hers, which wasn't much, and a small support payout for 3 months to help her transition. That was it. Rachel lost it. Started bawling right there in court, saying the whole thing was unfair, crying about how she wasted years of her life with me. The judge told her to sit down and be quiet or she'd be held in contempt. Her mom had to drag her out of the room. After that, things got real interesting. Rachel's dad tried to spin some story about me to the local business community, but it backfired. Turns out, a lot of folks already knew I'd bought the shop. We were part of the same business association. Some of them even started sending their high-end clients my way just to stick it to him. Business blew up. My reputation actually improved. People liked that I was hands-on, still turning wrenches myself instead of just sitting behind a desk. Word got around fast. And Brandon? Remember how he ran off mid-hearing? Yeah, karma found him. His company had strict no-nos about office relationships. Someone, definitely not me, sent HR some of those court documents showing he was sleeping with a married coworker. He got demoted and sent to some tiny branch office 3 states away. Rachel didn't last long at her job either. Her name got dragged through everything, and that big client she was working on with Brandon. They demanded a different team after all the drama. She ended up quitting and tried suing the company for hostile work environment. Didn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, my shop's thriving. I opened that second location, brought on some solid mechanics who actually care about the work. Rachel's dad tried to act like he mentored me, told people my success was thanks to him. Nobody believed it. Everyone saw the court docs where he tried to steal my house. His reputation tanked. Funny thing, people don't want to do business with someone who stabs their own family in the back. And the house Rachel fought so hard for. I just finished remodeling it. Built a brand new garage, twice the size of the old one. Every now and then, I catch her driving by slow, like she's still imagining what she'd have done with the place. Her brother still takes his car to other shops. Pays more. Gets worse service. About a month ago, I got this long email from Rachel. Said she regretted everything. Claimed she never meant to hurt me, and that Brandon wasn't who she thought he was. Apparently, he took the transfer without even telling her. She wanted to meet up. Talk things through. I never replied. My sister Laura keeps telling me I ought to write a book about all this. Maybe one day. Right now, I'm too busy doing what I love, running my shops, fixing cars, and living my life on my own terms. And yeah, I still wear my work uniform most days. Best revenge there is. Sure, I could throw on a suit if I really wanted to, but truth is, I'm proud of who I am and what I do. Always have been. I built this life with my own two hands, and that means more to me than any fancy title or corner office ever could. My guys at the shop. They respect me because I'm right there in the trenches with them, not barking orders from behind some desk. Just the other day, we landed a huge new contract. Big name client. And where was I when they showed up to sign the paperwork? Flat on my back under a car, doing an inspection. Didn't even bother to clean up before shaking hands. They smiled, said it was nice to deal with someone who actually knew their business inside and out. That moment hit different. Funny thing is, some of Rachel's old friends, the ones who used to laugh at my job, crack jokes about me being a grease monkey, they come into the shop now, trying to act friendly. Hoping for special treatment. Acting like they never said a word. I just nod, give them the same service I'd give anyone else. Professional, fair, no drama. Because at the end of the day, I don't need to rub anything in their faces. I don't need to say a word. Success does all the talking for me. That's where the story ends. If it spoke to you, drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. There's another one waiting for you right here on the screen. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you there.